In yesterday's video, I asked you guys if you wanted to see a video showcasing the exact pick rates for each legend, and several people said yes, which was enough encouragement for me to actually go through with recording it. So I'm going to talk about the pick rates as well as win percentages for all of the legends. I'm going to go from the least played legend all the way up to the most played, since it's no secret that Wraith and Pathfinder have incredibly high pick rates in comparison with the other legends. I pulled these stats from dreamteam.gg, which means that it's not 100% accurate to the player base because it's only people who have ever logged on to dreamteam.gg, and these percentages are from the PC tab, but the changes in numbers are negligible from console to PC, except Wraith, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get there. But starting at the bottom, let's talk about our boy Mirage. Sitting at just a 1.62% pick rate, it's overtly apparent that this man needs some love. The devs have neglected him since day one, and quite honestly, it's no surprise to me that he has settled into the mud at the bottom of our pick rate list. Every other legend has something to offer to the squad as a whole, but Mirage is a very individualistic character, which holds him back from team play. Aside from that, his Q ability is just really weak, and he literally doesn't have a passive. Going invisible after you go down does not help you in any capacity. I don't think his ult is terrible though. That's really one of his only redeeming qualities. This is invisibility. But on the total opposite side of the spectrum is a legend who is too reliant on his team, and that's Crypto. Crypto has a 2.54% pick rate, which is actually quite surprising to me. And what is even more surprising is that his pick rate is steadily declining. He's far more useful than a lot of people give him credit for, and I know he isn't that good unless your team can communicate, but if there's even a base level of communication between you and your teammates, you can do some serious damage with his EMP and destroy even the best players while they're stunned. I will say though, if I had the ability to give him any function, it would be giving him an ability where he can throw out his drone without entering the drone view. That way he could use his EMP without having to go all the way into that view. Third up is going to be Revenant, which is a surprise to literally no one, at least it shouldn't be. He sits at a 3.85% pick rate as of March 6th, and that's when all of these statistics were pulled, so that's literally just 2 days ago. Having under a 4% pick rate for a brand new legend is absolutely shameful. I would honestly rather he be overpowered to start than be as useless as he is. His ultimate is legitimately a detriment to the team, so it's no wonder why people don't pick him. You're doing yourself a disservice by taking him. I think his character would be greatly enhanced if the size of his tactical was a little bit bigger. That way he could hit legends more easily. And maybe if after you go into his death protection, your shield counts as well, and then once you just get down to no health, you respawn back at the totem with 1 HP. But that's enough on Revenant, so let's talk about the legend who is fourth on this list, and that's Caustic, sitting at 4.23%. This is the most shocking out of all the legend percentages to me. Caustic's pick rate is way below what he brings to the team. I personally feel like Caustic is one of the stronger legends, especially when it comes to his kit. His ability to block off whole areas and to seal off buildings as well as choke points. And using his ultimate, he can literally clear out entire buildings. He has quite a bit of utility at his disposal, and the only real drawback is that he's a chunky boy, but he still takes 15% less damage than the other legends, so I'm not really sure why his pick rate is so low. Maybe people just don't enjoy playing him that much. Next on the list, let's talk about Wattson, who is at 5.5% of a pick rate. I can see why she isn't picked that much. She isn't really the most fun or engaging character to play, especially in pubs, but her kit is insanely useful. Obviously, she's picked quite a bit in ranked, and she has the highest win rate of any legend, with a win rate of 8.09%, which can be compared with Mirage's win rate, which is the lowest, and that's 5.1%. And this to me says a lot about the type of person who picks Wattson. They're typically less aggressive, and they tend to wait for good opportunities rather than just attack and rush into fights. I do think if she gets the ability to res teammates with some shield, she will rise in pubs as well. But for right now, I personally am pretty happy with where she is. More serious players pick her, and people who just want to have fun with the game don't really. But that's fine because that's the type of character that she is. Sixth on this list is the big man himself, Gibraltar, at 5.11%. Don't be fooled by this number though. It's been on the rise for weeks. In December, he was at a pick rate of 2.3%, which means the amount of Gibbies in matches have doubled since then, thanks to the huge buffs he's received. By the end of March, I predict he'll have risen several places on this list, especially if he also gets the perk which I talked about in my previous video. You can click in the top right hand corner if you haven't seen that yet, but Gibby is definitely in a quite comfortable place right now, and expect him to be on the rise. There will be a lot more Gibbies in your games in the weeks to come. 7th is Bloodhound, which I'm really happy about. Before the buff, Bloodhound was at 3.1% pick rate. Now they're all the way up to 6.18%, which is great. I'm really happy to see Bloodhound players finally getting some love, and I think the buff to them was amazing. Once Bloodhound can also scan survey beacons, I think it'll just be a little extra incentive for people to choose them, and they'll settle somewhere around 6.3%, which I think is a pretty healthy pick rate for a legend, especially one that has been neglected for so long. At 8th though, we have Bangalore, and I'm not really entirely sure why. She's sitting at a 6.53% pick rate, and I think it's because she's especially popular among newer players, since in my opinion she has the most easily learnable kit. To me, her ultimate is just a worse version of Gibby's, and her Q ability is a detriment to the team, at least on World's Edge, where there's a lot higher chance of the enemy squads having digital thread. I gave her up once we switched over to World's Edge, and I'm not really sure why so many people have stuck with her, but let me know in the comments, because I'm sure you guys have either differing opinions, or you can at least think of some reasons why people play her so much. Right above her though is Octane,
who is at 6.64%.
who likely had his play rate raised a little bit because of his heirloom and skin, which just dropped. Honestly, Octane isn't a bad legend. It's just that his ultimate doesn't really do anything for anybody. It doesn't even really feel like an ultimate to me. I'd like it if his health regen was a little bit stronger. It doesn't really seem like his regen even affects you that much in matches, unless you have a really extended period of time where you're not fighting anybody and you can't find meds, which is very rare. Next up on the list though is Lifeline at 9.44%, and I have legitimately no idea why it's this high. I have no idea why in 2020 people are still playing Lifeline when Gibby is literally Lifeline 2.0 and he does everything she does but better. If you are a Lifeline main, please defend yourself in the comments, because you don't have a real ultimate and your passive is just a worse version of Gibby's. Now don't get me wrong, the drone is extremely helpful, especially if you're playing with friends, because it's a lot easier to communicate when you're throwing the drone, or they can ask for the drone if you're not really paying attention to their health bars. But as just a random playing in pubs, why are you playing Lifeline? Pathfinder is the second to best legend as far as pick rate is concerned, with a 19.69%. Now this should come at no surprise to anybody. Pathfinder is a fantastic legend. Both his mobility, his verticality, and his wonky hitbox really make him a top tier legend to play. And the same with Wraith, who we're going to talk about right now. Wraith is at a 28.31% pick rate, which is the highest she's been since last September. That's totally insane to me. As a Wraith main, I think that something needs to change. I would really love to see other legends be more viable, especially in a ranked or pro kind of environment. Everyone thought that Revenant was going to be that, but then it turned out that he's actual garbage. So maybe someday we'll see a legend rival Wraith, but I just hope it's a legend with an actual kit, because if Gibby rivals Wraith, I probably would stop playing, just because he's absolutely infuriating to play against because of his arm shield. But I did mention that Wraith does have a pretty varying pick rate across consoles. PS4 is about the same at 26.5%, but Xbox was the one that really confused me a little bit. Wraith is at 24% on Xbox, which is really interesting, because that's 4% of the population of the game more who are choosing other legends over her. I'm not really familiar with the meta of Xbox, but if you are an Xbox player, or if you're very familiar with it, I'd love to have a conversation with you in the comments about why you think that is. Now, if you haven't already, you can join the club and be part of the community by hitting that red subscribe button right underneath this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, consider hitting the like button, as that lets me know what kind of content I should be making in the future. But that's it from me, guys, so until tomorrow, take it easy.